like to say a few words?
Basically,
What we're doing here today then?
we're here outside Vodafone. We're part of a group called Manchester UK Uncut, and what we're doing is we're trying to raise awareness in the public about how these corporations are avoiding taxes. Now, the Manchester Council and the councils all over Manchester are saying they need to make drastic cuts to social services like childcare services, to health services, to services that everybody needs, alcohol and drugs units, the homeless services, public toilets are being cut down, and the council is saying they need to make these cuts because they haven't got enough funds and they need to make cuts everywhere. But what we're saying is that if they had made these corporations pay the taxes that these corporations have avoided, like Vodafone has avoided 6 billion in taxes, they wouldn't have to make these cuts. So we're here outside today in protest against the government and against these corporations as well.
You want me to tell you what this protest is about?
Well, just what you're doing here today. Introduce yourselves to the viewers at home.
Okay. Well, my name's Barry. I'm supporting this protest today outside Vodafone. This is part of the wider UK Uncut protest. UK Uncut is an organisation that has been set up basically via the internet, and its main aim is to challenge the large corporations that are responsible or guilty of either tax avoidance or tax evasion. For that reason, UK Uncut is focusing on companies like Topshop and Vodafone. Particularly Topshop, part of the Arcadia Group, whose head is Sir Philip Green, and this company is responsible for £6 billion worth of tax evasion. Therefore, UK Uncut organises protests across the UK to challenge. UK Uncut has organised protests across the UK to challenge these corporations that are clearly guilty of very serious breaches of the law in the context of either tax evasion or tax avoidance.
One of the things I find most offensive about the current Tory coalition with the Lib Dems is that we have ex-public school boys telling the rest of us, the poor and the vulnerable, how we are all in this together. We've got with a situation with the banks now where the banks are making billions and billions of pounds profit. Many of these banks have been nationalised, so they are owned by the people. If we're having to cut back on schools, hospital services, all the rest of it, surely that money that we've already paid into bail the banks should be paid as a priority to us rather than the shareholders of these banks. I find the hypocrisy of people like William Hague staggering when we have them on TV complaining about the repression in Libya and Syria when the British government is still selling millions of arms to these despotic regimes.
Good to know these things.
Justice, take action, it's about time you did something now. Philip Green, must be fired on. We have to take action against Philip Green. So Philip Green is a multi-billionaire businessman who runs a retail empire, which includes BHS, Topshop, Topman, Burton, Dorothy Perkins and Miss Selfridge. He is also Britain's most notorious serial tax dodger. He awarded himself 1.2 billion bonus tax-free. He does not actually own any of the Arcadia Group that he spends every day running. Instead, it is his name of his wife, who lives in Monaco and lives into Israel. He does not pay a penny of income tax. In 2005, this original investment allowed Philip Green to dodge a 300 million tax bill, when he awarded himself the biggest corporate paycheck in British history. And yet, despite this slap in the face of the British public, David Cameron has recently appointed Philip Green to advise the government on how best to slash public spending. Talk about the fox being put in charge of the chicken run. Vince Cable, business secretary, arrogantly says, "We will listen, but we will carry on with these cuts." We're usually here every Saturday outside corporations, and we're asking people, if you want to make a difference, you need to be out on the streets. The government's not doing anything for change. You've seen the drastic cuts in your local services. You need to be out on the streets, taking action, like us, out here on the streets. Every year, extremely wealthy individuals and big businesses avoid around £25 billion trillion of tax in this government is barely lifting a finger to stop it. In fact, the government has made tax dodging easier by cutting funding for the UK Revenue and Customs by quarter, making them toothless in the face of corporate tax dodgers. Sir Fred Goodwin, RBS, has obtained a super injunction under our notorious and draconian legal laws. The rich are getting away without paying their fair share, while it's the poor, the unemployed, the disabled, and poorly paid public service workers face the brunt of these cuts. The cuts are not fair, we're not in all this together at all, and there are alternatives. Here is one alternative to the salary cuts. Force the richest to pay their tax they owe us, starting with Philip Green's missing millions. We're asking the public to come and join us, sit out Barclays, sit outside Vodafone, sit out Boots, and demand they pay their taxes. It's about time we put action on the street, people.
And I think as people actually come to recognise the severity of the cuts in their standard of life, we'll see much more industrial action coming from the grassroots. The problem today is that the trade union leaders are much too close to the employers and to the government, and they're not prepared to countenance some action at the base, action at the grassroots. And as I say, I think in the next year, as people's standard of life really gets hit, as the services get hammered, I think we see more and more spontaneous action against the cuts, and hopefully this will be coordinated across the country, and it will start to question not just the legitimacy of the government, but it could actually cause such a rupture within the coalition that we could actually see very substantial political changes in the next 18 months.
We're asking you to take action against these corporations. Take your money out from there, stand out, tell your banks why you're leaving, tell Vodafone why you're leaving. We need to stand out together. We can't rely on the leaders, we need to take action ourselves. Or you'll see the drastic cuts, as you can see. And you can see the bonuses that the bankers are receiving. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. If you do your research, absolute madness.
You're obviously calling for people to join you on the street. It's not everyone's cup of tea though. So for those who can't join you in physical presence, how can they get involved?
Right, the ones who can't come out physically, we need you to go on the pages on Facebook, use the network sites to protest, go on Facebook, go on Twitter, go on everything else.
Give us
yeah, go on the actual the bank pages and start protesting. Write what you need to write, pass on the information. Go on, you can actually protest online by writing on the pages of these companies like Vodafone. You can actually write down Vodafone pay a tax. Simple as that, basically, online, and you're raising awareness.
Do you have any websites for yourselves?
If you type in Manchester UK Uncut on Facebook, you'll find up details. That's Manchester UK Uncut, and we're linked with all the other groups. So we're asking everybody to come together, join forces. We're asking the anti-war movement to come together. We're asking the anti-cuts movement to come together, and I think it's really about time everybody joined forces. And we know who the enemy is. It's the big corporations. We just need to make a stand together.
Been banned from Vodafone.
What a shame.
I know, yeah.